Good afternoon. This is Bob with County Records Research, and we're getting ready to begin our Friday webinar for October 7th, 2016. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we're going to get started here in just a moment. You'll see that the video portion of our screen has been activated, and so you can see that I've just logged into my County Records Research account. We look at the same data you look at to look for the opportunities that we want to take advantage of. If we help you with a property, then it's your property to go after. So feel free to ask us questions as you're doing your research on properties. Our goal is to help you find the opportunity that you're looking for and give you the strategies and techniques to go after that property and secure it at a price below market value. You should see the screen that I logged into. This is my welcome page. If you've joined us for our Wednesday presentations, then you know that we teach you how to set up a search, how to save properties, and a lot of the essential ins and outs of using the website itself, including all the buttons over here on the left-hand side, including our forms page, which includes all the documents that we need to make offers. If we go back to our home page, this is where we start before we log in, and then once I've logged into the site, then I can select my property search option and start looking at properties. And it's 2:30 now, so we're going to go ahead and get started. For those of you that are watching this not in a live presentation, if you are ever watching this on our YouTube channel, you might be seeing this in November or December of this year. Just remember that we do a live event every Wednesday and every Friday. This is our Friday presentation, and so we focus on Fridays about how we do our general research methods to identify the deals. So this is our deal building webinar, so let's go shopping. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and select my property search option. This opens up my general property search page, and as you can see, I've got all of California available to me. I can select as many counties as I want to do my research. I can pick 1, 2, 5, 20. I can pick all the zones by selecting all purchased zones by selecting that box. Okay, now I'm a firm believer that less is more. I like to do my research in pointed directions so that I can focus on what I want. Now, if I have a laser thin target like mobile home parks or hotels or gas stations, then I'm going to want to have a broader range in terms of my zones in order to find all the potential deals in a very finite group of properties. If I'm looking for opportunities in terms of residential properties, then I got to tell you, the number of opportunities seems endless these days. Okay, now there is talk that foreclosures are down relative to where they were when everything was peaking 6-7 years ago, but consider the fact that even though foreclosures might be down compared to 6 years ago, compared to the overall average, we still have a significant number of active foreclosures, more so than you would expect. And you will find as you do your research that there are more properties in your very near area than you would expect to find. Now on that note, bear in mind that we also have a mobile version of our site. If you go to mobile.countyrecordsresearch.com, you'll find that you can go into our mobile site if you're using a tablet or a smartphone, and you can actually do research on the fly out in the field. And using the nearby function, you can actually find properties that are local to you. Now, we're using the desktop version of the site for this presentation, so I'm going to be able to just pick a target area that doesn't necessarily have to be nearby. So I'm in Orange County. If I wanted to just pick the target area near me, I would select Orange County, and I could do my research that way. But let's do something a little different. Let's change it up, and we're going to do Riverside County today. Now, just to point out to you, those of you that are interested in purchasing properties actively through our service, bear in mind that Riverside County, San Bernardino County, and Los Angeles County are all serviced by our trustee sale bidding service. This is a service that we've added to our company, I think it's about 6 years old now, where we've been buying properties at the auction for clients who place bids with us based on a target price point in their business model. So if my goal is to buy properties for 75 cents on the dollar compared to current market value, then I can place as many bids as I want in my target county zone. And then what happens is the bidding agent for County Records Research attends the auction with a list of properties. Now, if you give our bidder a list of properties and she's at the auction holding your cashier's checks, you literally are in complete control of the circumstance at the auction, because when that lender calls that opening bid, our bidder checks her tablet computer and sees what you've given us as a maximum bid. If the opening bid at auction is a lesser number, then you capture the opportunity and you buy the property. So I said we're going to check out Riverside County, so let's do that. Now, notice I can select my counties and unselect them very easily by checking and unchecking the boxes. So I've selected Riverside County for my search, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit. Now, for those of you that are still getting used to the site, this is my single property search section. We're going to use this a couple times today, because anytime I'm exploring the opportunity to buy a property, I always want to use my single property search to investigate, to find out A, if there are additional foreclosure notices in the system, and B, if any of the other loans on the property are foreclosing in addition to the one I already know about. Because the bottom line is this: if I'm making offers, then I don't have to know all the facts. But if I'm buying at the auction, I should know as many of the facts as I can know. And that's simply because we don't want to be surprised when we bid at auction. If I think I'm bidding on a first, I want to make sure. So we're going to go shopping for properties that are going to sale in Riverside County. And I'm going to go down here to my general property search. Now, in this section, it's always going to be on notices of default filed, because a lot of our clients are agents and brokers and investors as well, who want to go and approach the property owner. Agents and brokers, of course, want to get the listing or make an offer on behalf of their client. Individual investors want to go make an offer directly to the property owner. So notices of default is your first category, and these are the people that have months to go before the auction. Okay, but I like upcoming sales for several reasons. First of all, foreclosure sale notices can be postponed from 1 month to the next, therefore creating a snowball effect. So if I do a search of the number of properties that are set to go to auction in the next month, there will probably be 2 to 3 times as many as there are new notices of sale filed. So what that means to me is my larger group of properties of all the choices is to go after the upcoming sales by the auction dates. Now, notice that when I selected upcoming sales, the system filled in an auction date range for me. Now, any choice I make under choose one, the system automatically puts in a 2-week range to match my requirement. Now, I can keep it to a 2-week range, or I can expand this to a month, or take it down to a single day. If I was planning to go to the auction next Tuesday, then I'd want to search just next Tuesday. As a matter of fact, let's do that. Now, why did I say Tuesday? Because Monday is a holiday. Monday's Columbus Day, so there will be no auctions on Monday. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say let's start with Tuesday by changing the first date in my auction date box. And then I'm going to change this second date from the 21st to also the 11th. So now it's 10/11 to 10/11, so I've just shortened my date range to a single day. Now, because I've focused on just one date, I'm not going to put in cities or zip codes. Now I could put in up to 3 cities or up to 3 zip codes in these boxes. Now that's an either or thing, either cities or zip codes, okay? Because if I put both in, then the properties need to match all the criteria. Okay, so I'm going to match up my auction dates to 10/11, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select a search based on Riverside County for that date. Now, notice also, I can specify a property type. If I only want single family residential, I can say so. If I only want apartments, which is multifamily 2+, I can say so. Now, once I select anything in these categories, then a subcategory window opens up. And you'll notice that I can also be more selective. I can say I only want a duplex or only a fourplex, or I want 5 and above. So I can be very specific in my search criteria, but as I said, I prefer a less is more theory when I'm putting a search together, and because I've chosen all of Riverside County for just one day, I'm going to do 10/11 to 10/11, and I'm not going to put in any other categories. Now, also, I'm going to use the standard report format. This is my preferred way of searching because I like the standard view. The standard view gives me a view of all the loan information. It also gives me access to mapping. It also gives me a link to check to Zillow to see if the property is already listed with an agent. Okay, so it's a variety of reasons I like the standard view. It's just a more comprehensive way of viewing my data. Now, once I have property in the standard view, I can also email it to myself, and I can use the save and functions that I demonstrated on my Wednesday presentation to put it into my Properties folder. So we're going to go ahead and do a search right now of Riverside County for what's going to go to sale on Tuesday, and let's see what we get. Okay, now what I just did is I just pulled up all the current auction properties scheduled for Tuesday of next week, and I get a map at the top and a list at the bottom. Okay, map at the top, list at the bottom. Above the map, we have a header that says the map reflects 0 to 20 of 38 total records. So I've got a total of 38 properties set for auction on Tuesday. Now, this is great in case I'm planning to go shop at the auction, okay? Or if I'm using our bidding service, I've got the bid now option here on the right-hand side for those properties in Riverside County that are going to sale in Corona, because that's the location that our auctioneer covers. Now, notice there are no bid now options on these 3 properties. These are scheduled for Tuesday, but they've already been canceled. Now, canceled doesn't mean that they've solved their financial problems. They could have filed bankruptcy. They could be in the process of getting a modification, which is only a temporary fix, or these could have been people that took an offer from someone like you or me. You'll find as you look at properties that get canceled out from the auction, one of those things has occurred. Either they have got a modification, they've bought time with a litigation or a bankruptcy, or they've accepted an offer and opened an escrow. Okay, which is why we always encourage you to follow these properties and make offers. If they don't accept your offer, you can always go to auction later, but the opportunity to present an offer also gives you a chance to get up close and personal and see the property and make sure that your objective valuation of the property matches the actual physical condition of the building and the land that goes with it. Because what we want to make sure we're doing whenever we buy, whichever way we buy, is that we've assessed the perceived value and it matches an objective valuation that we can use so that we can plan ahead for our next steps. If I'm buying a property to fix it up and sell it, I have to have a good idea of what it's going to cost me to go through those steps. If I'm buying a property because I'm turning it into an income property as using a buy and hold strategy that Kurt prefers, then what I'm looking for is a moneymaker, and then I would plan to do the upgrades necessary to turn it into a cash machine. And if you're not familiar with how to do that, I do suggest that you call in and speak with Kurt or set up a meeting to come on in, because one of the things you're going to find he'll help you do is figure out how to look at a property, evaluate its potential as an income property, and how to go with it from there. And again, if we help you on a deal, it's your deal. It's yours to catch or it's yours to lose. And you want to go after it if we walked you through the opportunity, because chances are you'll probably know more things than a lot of other people out there who don't have the benefit of Kurt's expertise. Now, let's do some more shopping. What I'm going to do is above the map it says 0 to 20. So below the map, it says price, send by email, show 20, 40, 60. So I'm just going to click on the 40 one time. Because the number was greater than 20, I've clicked on the 40, and I can now see 0 to 40 of 38 total records. So now every property is visible. Okay, notice I have a much longer list, and I have a lot more little push pins on the map. Now, when we're looking at notice of sale records, they're all color-coded based on certain factors. Most of them will be green. Okay, because green simply means it's going to auction. Now, if it's turned red, that means it's canceled, as these three are, so these three match the red dots on the map. Now, if it says bankruptcy sale pending and it's yellow, that means that that particular property has been postponed and the lender has notified us through the internet that a bankruptcy has been filed. Now, important to note, there are many cases where the lender does not state that a bankruptcy has been filed, although that has been the cause of a postponement. So always keep in mind that when we're dealing with properties in foreclosure, you've got desperate property owners that are trying to hold on to their property as long as they can in many cases. That's why in many cases we'll go and make an offer, but we'll still find ourselves buying that property at auction. Because in certain cases the homeowner or the property owner, in the event of a commercial or income property, they simply don't want to let go of the rents if it's an income property, and if it's a person who's lived in a house for a long time, they have a hard time letting go. So for us as investors, we have an objective point of view. We set a value and we go after it. Now, as I said earlier, these three properties were set for sale on Tuesday. They have now been canceled. So notice that every property from left to right has an address, a city, zip code, lot size, square footage of the building, and the room count. In this case, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. An estimate of value based on comps in the area. Now, important point, when we say this is the estimate of value, we're taking this based on comparable sales, arm's length transactions through escrow. Okay, so estimated value of $165 for this house in Banning, because obviously it's a small house, it's less than 1,000 square feet. This house is worth about $165,000 and change. Now, the bank is owed about $142. Okay, so this was set to go to auction on Tuesday, with the bank owed $142 on a place that's worth about $165. In other words, approximately $23,000 in auction equity. And you'll notice we have our auction equity column right here, $23,635. So I can eyeball this on the list without having to open the profile and get a basic idea of the circumstance. Now, also notice to the left of the auction equity is a loan position column. You'll notice almost always these are going to be ones. Okay, see how these are all ones? There's a 2 here, a 2 here, but most of them are ones. Usually at a foreclosure auction, it's going to be a first taking it to sale, but not always. Okay, but usually it's a first. Now, bottom line is, if I'm bidding on a first, the rule is that the first will wipe out anything that follows it. Okay, so notice that next to our loan position column is our senior junior loan column. Now, in the case of this one on Autumn Way in Banning, we had a foreclosing first, and remember they're owed the $142,261. And next to the loan position column of a 1, we have senior junior loans. So we have 0 and 0. Now, just for purposes of clarity, this senior junior loan column, the foreclosing loan itself is represented by the slash. Okay, so see the slash here? Senior is ahead of it, junior's behind it. So in this case, we have a foreclosing first. Now, as just a general rule, if it's a first foreclosing, there won't be a loan ahead of a first because it's the first. So ahead of the slash is a 0. And in this particular case, there is no second loan. So to the right of the slash is also a 0. So this tells me I have one loan and one loan only. That's the foreclosing party that's owed the $142. They were set to go to sale on the 11th, and the sale got stopped. Now, there's not a lot of equity in this property, only about $23K. So if I'm an investor, I could go to the property today if I felt that this estimate of value was not correct, and it's actually worth more. If I thought this place was worth 200 and the guy owes 142, I'd make him an offer. Now, if it's worth 165, I could still make him an offer, but I might make it a short sale offer because I'm offering less than the 142. Remember, the difference between a short sale and a standard offer is simply, am I offering what's owed, or am I offering more or less? Okay, if I'm offering somebody more than what's owed, that's a standard or conventional offer, or in many cases subject to. Let's say I like this property and I think it's worth 200,000, then I could offer to take over the payments on this 142 and bring it current, and then I would take it, then I could refinance it or sell it to someone else. So when we're looking at a situation, we just want to balance our information and understand what we got. So now, this property on Autumn Way seems like it's got a little bit of equity, so maybe the homeowner saved it. Okay, now the very next property on Osprey in Corona, this property has a value of about $516, much bigger house, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, big house, 3648, 3,648 square feet. That's a big house. Now, the estimate of value I've got here is $516. The bank's owed $529, so it's upside down as a matter of objective perception based on comps in the area. Now, does that mean that this house might not be tricked out and it might actually exceed the $516? It could. Okay, this is where our objective valuation comes into play, because we have to ask ourselves, what's the value of this place? Now, if this homeowner stopped the foreclosure, they either stopped it because they were able to get a modification, or they were able to refi, or they're simply using bankruptcy as a stalling tactic, and this will come right back in our system. Okay, so let's open up Osprey and take a look. That Banning property seemed kind of small, but I'm interested in this one. Now, so the trustor in this case, now this is one of our notice of sale records, so let's just walk through real quick. Notice on the left we have the loans, on the right we have a map. Okay, loans on the left, map on the right. So we've got a first of $503,364 back in 04, May of 04, and notice this loan is a purchase loan because the purchase date matches it to a T. So this is a purchase first. This is the first loan. So if I was going to be bidding at the auction, I'd feel pretty safe doing that. Now, I would make a call to title just to make sure we didn't miss anything. However, 99.9% chance the title company is going to say exactly what we show you, and that's true most of the time. Okay, so now Osprey was purchased in May of 2004 for $562, and they took out a loan for $503, so they went in with about $59K as a down. Okay, so here's what we got is we've got a homeowner that's owned their place since for about 12 years, and they're challenged, actually about 11 years, excuse me, but they're challenged. Oh, I take it. Yeah, but they're challenged because they've hit a wall. They've hit some kind of financial wall, okay? Because their loan that was $503 is now $529. Now, they've fallen behind. So I think they were paying it for a number of years, but they hit some kind of a crisis point, and now they can't pay it anymore. That's my preferred situation as an investor, because this is one where I would go to these folks and I would make a short sale offer, assuming the estimate of value of $516 is accurate. Now, we have a link over to Zillow's page. I'm going to click my link to View's Estimate to see if this was listed. Now it wasn't. Doesn't look like it was listed. And I'm going to go down here just to see if there's any price history, to see if the homeowner was trying to sell it before. Okay. Nothing. So the most recent activity is that sale in 04, and they didn't list it, and it doesn't show pending. So I don't think this is with an agent. I don't think they listed the property. I think these folks are white knuckling it, and there's still a shot here. Okay, let's examine a couple other things, because I just realized something you should see. I'm going to scroll down the page and make a point. Notice the auction details section that we show you for the Corona auction. 849 West 6th Street is the auction location, 9 o'clock. This is a courthouse location. Now, let's look at something that's very obvious to me. The current sale date was Tuesday of next week, but look at the sale date from before. This is the initial sale date, and this comes into play whenever you have a cancellation. Okay, this is telling me that the original sale date was on October 23rd of 2015, a year ago. Okay, so what does this tell me? A notice of trustee sale in California expires, just like the milk in your refrigerator. Okay, a notice of trustee sale is good for 1 year from the initial sale date. So if the property owner files a bankruptcy or uses some other form of litigation to extend the process, then I normally would postpone it to next month, unless my notice of sale is set to expire, which is the case here. So without knowing more details of what's going on, there is some form of legal action taking place by the homeowner to buy more time, okay? Or the lender is just extremely generous, okay? I'd say it's probably the former rather than the latter. And I'd say it's very likely that in this case, the homeowner has simply bought themselves more time with some form of an action. I'm going to think they got a bankruptcy filed, and they've gotten the lender to cancel the sale, but the reason they're canceling the sale is they cannot postpone it again because they're out of time. Okay, now when that year is up, it doesn't mean the foreclosure is up. It just means that that particular auction cannot take place because the lenders realize it's going to take them more than 20 days, or in this case 16 days, to get the bankruptcy court to throw this bankruptcy filing out. Okay, and again, this property doesn't say postponed due to bankruptcy, but I can tell what's going on. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, let's say I'm interested in this property. Notice what I've got down here in the bottom of the profile. This is an excellent solution. My status change update request. I'm going to check the box that says email me when status changes, and I'm going to put in my email address here. I could do the same thing with my cell phone for a text message, but I like email. That's me. So county records, I just got to teach myself how to spell again every Friday. Okay, so this is my email address. I've selected status changes. The beauty of this one is if this hadn't been canceled yet, I'd get an email if it got canceled. If it got postponed out again, I'd get an email if it got postponed. Okay, because it notifies me of any changes in this current record. But this current record is toast. Okay, this current record has been canceled. However, when this lender goes to file a brand new notice of sale, guess what? The trustee sale number is a file number. This is the file number of the trustee, which is Quality Loan Service down in San Diego. So Quality Loan Service is going to file a new notice of sale. I'm going to say that I think that they're going to do so before Halloween. Okay, I think it's a very good shot that before Halloween, I'm going to get an email that tells me that there's a sale date for this particular property, and that way I'll know that it's still an active file and I can still be prepared to bid at auction. But I'm also going to know that it's still a potential hot opportunity for me to go make an offer to the property owner. Now notice the lender in this case is Deutsche Bank, big bank, German bank. I don't know if I could try and buy the note. Okay, that's really a challenge on a residential property these days, is to try and buy the note from a big bank. Now, if it was a smaller lender, I would consider it. If I didn't recognize the name of the entity here, or if it was a seller carryback and it was an individual, like a husband and wife or a family trust, then I might try and go and buy the note, okay? Because I can bet you, if this has been going on for a year and this was an individual husband and wife that sold their house and moved out to Arizona, they'd be at wit's end, and they'd be willing to sell me the note at a discount. And remember, anytime you buy a note, it's always at a discount. If we don't get a discount on the note, it's not worth buying it. Because remember this, the purchase price on the note is the purchase price of the property if you take it to foreclosure sale later on. Okay, so if I bought this note and took it to auction at a later date and somebody paid me $500,000 at the auction, I better have got a better price on the note than $500,000, otherwise I wouldn't have had a profit. Okay, so whenever we approach a deal, we always set a price point for ourselves based on what we know. Thanks, Joanne. Okay, we always base a price based on what we know. So the most important thing to do is to identify a price point, then compare it to the facts and ask ourselves, can I get there from here? So can I get there from here? Well, I could. I could make a short sale offer, or I can try and buy the note at a discount. And again, I'm throwing that one in the wastebasket because I don't think Deutsche Bank will answer my phone. And if they do, I don't speak German. But okay. However, this one could go to auction. So I'm going to go ahead and hit my little submit goodie, and now that's been saved in my email update folder, and that's in my properties folder, and we'll get back to that. But now that's been saved to my properties folder. So now I'll get an email in my inbox if Osprey comes back, and I'm telling you again, probably 85–90% chance I'll get that email within 30 days, because once the lender gets the bankruptcy thrown out, there will be a new notice of sale with the same parcel number. Here's the APN right here, right? But also with the same trustee sale reference number, because this is the file that Quality Loan refers to if I were to call them up and ask them a question. Okay, now if I call them up to ask them a question, well, they'll talk to me, but they're going to be very careful, because who am I? Okay, now if I call up and say I'd like to buy the note that Deutsche Bank owns on this property, then they might forward my request to Deutsche Bank that I'm trying to buy the note. Or they might say, oh, they don't do that. Okay, you never know. You never know. With a big bank, it's probably the latter. It's probably, no, they don't do that. Okay, but so my options on this case are to make a short sale offer, so I'm scrolling back up. Now, Roxanne and Jose are the owners. They're also the trustors. Now, the trustor is who oops, I hate when it does that. The trustor is who borrowed the money. Okay, that's the trustor. The owner is the person on title. They're usually the same party, not always. Okay, the mailing address is where they get their mail. Duh. Yes. But the property address here is on Osprey is the same, so we know that they reside at the same property that we're discussing. Okay, if this address was different, then we'd know that this was probably an income or rental property, and that's okay, but it's helpful to know this information going into it, because if this was a rental property, then chances are Roxanne and Jose would be much more willing to accept my offer right out the gate. Whereas since they're living in the property and they've lived there for about 12 years, they're probably going to try and stick it by hook or by crook. Okay, I'm getting a little bit of background noise, so I'm going to go ahead and mute you guys. Just bear in mind, if you have any questions, just go ahead and type them into the little box, okay? Now, what I'm going to do at the moment is I'm going to show you the single property search option, because here's another point that I just like to follow up and make sure you know you can do this. Now, here's the parcel number, the APN. I'm going to left click and drag, and then I'm going to right click and copy. Now, for purposes of the demonstration, we're using Google Chrome as our browser. So notice I got our funny little tabs up here on top that take me back and forth through my open windows in Chrome. Right, so I've got my property profile, I've got my search results with my list of addresses, and then I've got my County Records Research main tab. Okay, so now I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Okay, this is my single property search option, and I'm going to drop the parcel number by right-clicking and pasting. Okay, always make sure your parcel number is lined up against the left side of the box when you're going to go ahead and do a search based on parcel number. Right, and now I can hit search. Okay, now what this search is resolving for me is what records exist for Osprey. Okay, so as I said earlier, I felt like they were really trying to pay it down, and then they just hit some kind of a sequence of events that hit them hard, and it looks like that sequence of events started last year in 2015. Now, notice there's two records in our system. There's a notice of default at the bottom and a notice of sale at the top. How can I tell the difference? The notice of sale has an estimated minimum bid. It has a dollar figure that's owed against the loan in total. It also has a sale date, which is the date for Tuesday that's been canceled. Now, a notice of sale record will have these features. It will have a sale date. It will have an estimated bid, because that's what the notice of sale is. It's an invitation to a sale. It's at a certain place at a certain time, and if it goes down, we can buy a property. The estimated minimum bid is based on what's owed, not what they're going to ask for. Okay, I'm going to emphasize that very firmly. It's what's owed. It's not what they're going to ask for. I think if this had gone to auction, I think this lender would have dropped the bid based on experience. I think they would have opened this auction for around $400,000, maybe less. Okay, so keep that in mind. We are the judge of what's going to happen, and then we make an estimation of what we think we would do, and we're prepared for that opening bid being maybe $400,000. If that's a good price, then I'm ready for it. If it's too much, then I just don't buy it. But I scope it out. Now, in this particular case, I think it's coming back. I think this lender will hold a sale within the next few months, if not next month. And I think they're going to open the bid for about $400,000. Okay, I'm making some guesses there, but that's good enough for me because I've done this a bunch of times. Now, the notice of default record came out in June of 2015, so that was a little over a year ago. This is when the problem started for this couple. Now, this couple started, this is when their notice of default came out. Notice the delinquent amount at that point was $17,000. So in June, the as of date, June 9th of 2015, they owed $17,000. So now their monthly payment on a $500,000 note is probably $4 or $5 grand. I'm guessing closer to 4. So how long do you think it took them to hit 17,000? What do you think that is? Maybe about 4 months plus some fees. Okay, so I'm saying they were about 4 months behind in June of 2015. So they stopped making their payments right around February of 2015. You see how you can kind of put together in your mind what's going on with this situation? If they've been in trouble since February of 2015, it hasn't gone on all that long, but they're desperate. Okay, but nobody's got to them to sell the property yet. And I think they think that they can file bankruptcies more often than they really can, because that's my competition, is somebody that's going to go in there and try and get them to file BK. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be prepared to go make my short sale offer to them, because I don't want to pay them what they completely owe, right? I'm going to make my short sale offer, or I'm going to be ready to bid at the trustee sale when this lender issues a new sale notice. And I feel they will. I feel they will in a short amount of time, and when they do, I could be ready to pick it up at the auction. Okay, so that's this property. Okay, so now the very next one on Alana Street in Moreno Valley. This one was also canceled. Okay, now in this case the market value is about $255, but they owe $339. They're way upside down. Okay, so I'm guessing this is another one that's going to come back around for me to try and get it a different way. Now in this case, the initial sale date was just April of this year, so this has been going on for a short time as far as I know. City Mortgage is the lender. National Default is the trustee. So different trustee, different lender, but notice the trustee sale number's there. Okay, my APN's there, so I can cross-check my loan information, make sure I know what I know. Now, this is also a purchase first from 2007 though. So they've owned it since 2007, January. Their initial loan was $300,000. It's now $339,000. So they were making their payments too, but then they fell behind. This is another one, I'm guessing, that's going to have a very short number of records in our system. I'm going to guess that, let's go back up here, Alma Sanchez, I think she was trying, but she just can't make it anymore. Okay, and if they got the sale canceled, They probably filed a bankruptcy or a restraining order, some form of light litigation. I'm just emphasizing light litigation because they don't really know what they're doing. They're not pros at this. They're just a couple that was trying to hold on to their house. So Alma and Juan, I think they're in a desperate spot. They're going to get another notice of sale, okay? Because they owe $340 on a house that's worth $255. You're not going to refinance that, okay? Now let's see if I'm wrong. Let's see if they put it up for sale. Okay, so Zillow says it's worth about $254. Okay, no record of any sale since '07. Okay, so no record of listing, no record of sale. So, no, I'm not wrong. They have not tried to sell it. So this is another couple that got a postponement in the form of a cancellation. They're still ripe for the deal. Okay, so I could go ahead and do the same thing I just did before. I could put the email me when the status changes, put in my email, hit submit, and I'll be notified. Okay, this is going to come up again. I have no doubt of it. Okay, but they're upside down. It's a short sale offer because I'm not willing to take over what they owe. Now, this next property, now we're past the canceleds. This one's on Ombre Lane in Murrieta. Now, this one is odd. There's no estimated value. Whenever you come across this, it's going to be either a commercial property or it means we don't have an apples to apples dollar comparison for that property. Hold on a second. Jody had a question. The search only shows the lender in first position. Where do we find info on the other positions when they exist? Very good question. Notice that the search, the single property search option I showed you on that last property showed me 2 records. If there are multiple records in the system, sometimes you'll see this where there's a dozen records on that property. Sometimes I'll have 3 loans on a property and all 3 loans have filed notices. If that other lender has filed a notice in our system, then we'll have that reference point. Let's see if maybe we get lucky with Ombre. Okay, now here this property on Ombre, this one's a little different. Okay, this is single family, but this is acreage. Okay, and what's unusual about this one? Okay, let's because I think we're going to see some information on this one that's going to make us all pretty surprised. So first of all, we've got a trustor of Stephen or Stevene with an E on the end, and Michelle Nickel. And the owner is BCR Investments, LLC. Okay, now notice in our remarks, I put BK. So this is a bankruptcy filing. We've got a first of $1 million from '08. We've got a second of $100,000 just from 2013, from 3 years ago. Now, also notice we have a purchase date of 2016. He said, because that means that ownership just changed in March of this year after they were in foreclosure. Because if they've got a notice of sale in our system that just hit our system this month, then their notice of default preceded it by at least 3 months, if not further. And because the loan is from '08, I got to think it's gone on for a while. Now notice this. The loan from '08 for $1 million is now $1,139,000. So it's grown by over 10%. So they've missed a bunch of payments on this loan. So let's use the single search and see if there's more to find out about this one and see if that helps us answer Jody's question. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy. And I'm going to go back up to my main page and I'm going to paste. You'll find I do this a lot. Now, see what happened there is I copied a little too much, and so I have to justify this to the left side. And now I'm going to hit search. Now, I call this a wrap sheet. This is when you have a property that's been in default and they've filed multiple notices. Okay? Now notice loan positions 1, but also here's a loan position 2. So that 2013 loan, actually filed a notice of default in 2015. Okay, so this second, let's go ahead and open this puppy up. So that's our 2013 loan. Okay, And Bayline Holding Universal Systems Technologies. Okay, these folks are changing ownership. This is one of those properties where I got to tell you, they've confused the researchers. You notice how we have this kind of funny little zero thing with a date here that I think is incorrect? This is because these folks are changing ownership. Notice they changed ownership in 2013. They're changing names, okay? Just a rule of thumb, when you run into somebody that's changing their name, be careful, okay? You don't just run out and bid at the auction, okay? Especially in a situation like this, because you've got someone that's taking out different loans under different names, okay? And it seems to me that it's the same owner, but they're changing, you know, they're using pseudonyms or corporations or LLCs. So you need to be careful when you're going to bid at the auction, because this makes it difficult for you to do title research and make sure a first is a first is a first, okay? So we do know that this loan for $100,000, I'm going to scroll down, is from a company called Far West Financial out of Las Vegas, okay? So now we've got a second of $100,000 on this property, and we know that first is the $1 million, right? Because we saw that on the other record, okay? So there is some confusion here. Notice Stephen and Michelle Nickel borrowed the $1 million. That's who the owner was, okay? But now we're showing the owner as BCR Investments LLC, and on this record it's Bayline Holding Universal Systems Technologies out of an office in Canoga Park. So you know this requires some research here because there's some convoluting of the facts, okay? So now, if I was pursuing this particular property, I know that this property is going to require more research because I need to make sure this loan from 08 is in fact the first. Now, if it's a first from 08 and Stephen and Michelle own the property outright, anything that happened after January of 08 is eliminated by the auction. The loan from January of 08 is eliminated by the auction. Now, this is currently set to go on the 11th. Notice the status is hold, okay? That's a general term that the lenders are using for complicated files. It means they're evaluating a situation, possibly a bankruptcy filing, that they're questioning its validity. So they're saying hold because they're not sure they're going to hold the sale. It doesn't mean canceled yet. This could go to sale on Tuesday. But as we can all see, this is a complicated file. That's a term that I use for a file that needs additional research and evaluation. Now, if I was making an offer, I just need to make sure that I'm approaching the owner and offering to buy the property. I'm not worried about what they owe, okay? I'm focused on my price point, and I'm focused on getting a signature on a document so I can open an escrow. If I'm bidding at the auction, I need to make sure this first really is a first, okay? And that's what matters more than anything, is to have a clear picture of getting the goal I want. Now, I showed that we had a tax value of $893,000 on this property recently. And remember what I said when we first opened it up, the estimate of value was 0, and I said that usually means there's not a good apples to apples comparison, or it's commercial property. This is a single family residence on acreage. I'm going to guess this place is probably gorgeous. So now, notice what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my map, and I'm going to use my wheel on my mouse. Now, we can use these little magnifying glass goodies here on the left, but they tend to zoom in and out really quick, you know, like Superman. We want to, you know, just gradually zoom in and hit our bird's eye. Okay. So what do we got here? Where's the house? So this might be an old shot. So I'm going to do my little semicircle here with the arrow and see what we got. Now, this doesn't look like this is developed land. I'm going to try the aerial All right, so now if you ever do the bird's eye and you don't get a sharp image of what the property is that you think, because this place has got to be worth some money, okay? Now, let's walk ourselves through this again, because notice the year built's 2007 in our property details. So what this looks like to me is they bought an undeveloped lot here at this location, and they built their dream house, okay? And for some reason, they hit some kind of a financial crisis, and then they've been trying to save it through legal means, okay? Notice you've got what looks like a very stately manor. This is like stately Wayne Manor. Look, you got a boat here. Good, looks like an RV and a SUV here. This is a beautiful custom home on the top of a hill, okay? So you know what this is, okay? And this looks like this is probably a guest house out here at the bottom of the mountain, okay? So and that looks like a corral, okay? Or so this is maybe a barn, okay? So this was somebody's dream house, okay? And it still can be, okay? Stephen and Michelle probably are still in the property. They're probably trying to save it through legal maneuvers, and that's why it's on hold, okay? So I would do my best to try and figure out what this place is really worth, set a price point. Go make them an offer as a short sale. Just remember that they have to accept it, plus you have two lenders involved. Both lenders have to acknowledge the price point that you've offered and have to accept it, okay? Now, and as I said earlier, we saw who owns this second, okay? So we know who that is, Far West Financial, right? So Far West would be involved. Now, MTC is a trustee. So on that note, I'm going to go back to this record and I'm going to hit my back arrow. Remember how I got here. I did my single property search. Now, I'm going to go back to the initial notice of default on loan number 1. Okay, and scroll down. Capital One is our lender on the first. Okay, you see how I did that, Jody? Okay, so now we know who the lenders are on both loans. The notice of default is usually going to give you more clearer information as to who the lender is than the notice of sale. Okay, because the notice of default goes out to the owner and to any interested parties that are on title record as being lien holders or lenders or interested parties, okay? The notice of sale is published in a newspaper and is seen by everybody and his dog. So the notice of sale will generally have the name of the trustee on it or the contact information of the trustee on it, but the notice of default will have more specific contact information for the lender, because the notice of default, at that point, it's assumed that the homeowner will try and resolve it. Or if there's a second, the second will bring that first current, okay? Now notice on this particular record back from 2013, the second was a $200,000 loan from 2008. So now there's a second floating out there from 08, whereas here I've got a $100,000 loan from 2013. So that second could fall in between these two, okay? Now I'm saying this because remember, ownership has changed back and forth. Is it possible that they have 3 loans, but it's hard to tell because we've had 3 owners on the property since 2008? You bet. You bet. That's why I'm saying this is complicated. If I was going to buy this at the auction, I'd make sure I did my research. Now, my hunch is this $1 million first is the first. Okay? It looks that way. It looks that way. I'm 75% sure the title person will tell you that's the case. Okay? And if I was going to bid at auction, I'm not worried about the loans that follow. They all get wiped out. Okay? So what's your price point? Figure it out. These folks, if they don't resolve this matter, will lose this property to auction. It's their dream home. They put a lot of effort into it, but their finances are falling apart. Okay? So this is an opportunity for an investor to come in and get the house on the hill in Riverside County. Okay? I'm going to close this one out. Now, whenever I've opened up too much stuff, I like to close it out. Now I'm back at my search results, right? So now we've got one here in Beaumont. This is on Finley Avenue. Now this one's worth about $279 and they owe about $394, upside down again. Okay, now what I want to do, I wanted to see if we only have one of these. Okay, this is a drop bid. Let's go to this one at the bottom of the page because I'm running out of time, and I wanted to show you something that's going to give you a real positive feeling for how this all works. This is a drop bid. This is a property on Chardonnay Way in Mira Loma that's worth about $320,000. Now the bank is owed $248. Okay, the bid's going to open at $196. This is a dropped or specified opening bid. This is a lender who's decided they'll take $196, $273, and 40 cents. Now, got to tell you this. Sometimes you'll see an opening bid that's round numbers, okay? When it's down to the penny, that means they crunched some numbers. They did some math. They got what's called a broker's price opinion on this property. And so their realtor, their broker, told them that this is what you should ask for at the auction. So their opening bid is $196, $273, and 40 cents, and they're serious. Okay, this is Schools First Credit Union. This is where I go and get my my cash out of the bank. Hey, poor guys, look at this. So their opening bid is $196. They're owed $248. Now I'm going to scroll back up. Now here's a good case in point. They were owed $248 on this foreclosing first from 2007, but they were owed this much back in December of last year, 10 months ago. So do you think they're still owed $248 today? No, it's gone up. It's gone up about 30 grand. They're owed about $280 on this first, but there's a second, $77,000. So this place is upside down. They owe about $280 plus I'm guessing they owe probably another $90. Okay, so I'm guessing they owe about $370 on this house that's worth about $320. Okay, so this is a property that's totally upside down. I'm thinking this is going to sale. So let's weigh a few more things. Now, Guillermo and Griselda are the trustors. They borrowed the money. They're also on title. Okay, the mailing address is the same as the house, so they live at the house. Now, the couple's mistake here was refinancing. Their purchase date was 2001. They bought the house for $148,000. Okay. They refinanced at the top of the market in 2007 for $300,000. That $300,000 had a payout that paid off their purchase first, right? And then in 2014, they took out this $77,000 loan. Okay, I'm guessing they were already hitting financial challenges at that point, and they took out this 77 to try and hold on to the property, but it didn't work. Okay, it's a band-aid. It's a band-aid on a gaping wound, and it won't help. If you can't afford your loan, taking out another loan ain't going to help you. You know, that's the lesson we all learn in college, isn't it? So what the lender has done, Schools First Credit Union, is going to open the bid at $196 on Tuesday. Now, if I had an account with our, or if I had set up with our bidding service, I'd hit the Bid Now button, and I'd set my bid, and I'd say, I know they're going to open at $196 and it's worth $320. So maybe I set my maximum bid on this property at $220. Okay, so now at the auction, they're going to open at $196. There's going to be counter bidding. Now, really important point I want to emphasize for you. If the opening bid is already announced, that means everybody and his brother is also going to know the opening bid. So there's going to be competition. If this house is really worth $320, there's going to be more than one bidder. It won't be just me. Okay, but I'm going to close this property out and point this out. We've got 38 records, right? We've got one drop bid. We've got 3 cancels and a hold. Everything else is pending, but the opening bid is not yet announced. This is a gold mine. Okay, these are the properties where nobody knows where the bid's going to open. But I'm interested. Now, notice that when you're looking at these, if it's a foreclosing first, it's a first. If it's a second, it's a second. But notice that some of these properties, there's equity already in the house. Okay, I've got a $377,000 house in Corona. They only owe $315,000. The lender's going to ask for what they're owed. So I already know that that might be an attractive bid at the auction. I could be ready to place my bid. Okay, notice that if I go down the list, I see a lot of these have no equity. Like this one on Wood Creek in Moreno Valley, they owe $332,000. The bank, but the house is worth $273,000. Now, the bank in this case will drop the bid. Okay, so you got most of your records, the lender will drop the bid. Now, I just closed that out for a reason. I want to show you guys something real quick. I'm going to pick upcoming trustee sales, and I'm going to backdate it. And I'm going to go ahead and look at the previous sales this week. Now, what I just did is I picked upcoming sales, and I backdated it to see sales earlier this week, and I'm going to go ahead and hit search. The reason I'm doing this is to show you properties. Now it's 0 to 20 of 114. So these are sales that happened over the last few days. I'm going to hit the 60 here because now I have 0 to 60. And I'm going to go ahead and see, now notice this. Here's a property in Coachella worth about 112. They were owed about 109. They dropped it, or it's sold back to Benny at 101. Now, back to beneficiary means REO, means the lender took it back. Okay. Sold means it's sold to someone else. Here's a property in Palm Springs worth about 280. The bank was owed 85,000, and that's what it sold for at the auction, and somebody bought it. Okay, so somebody bought a $280,000 property for $85,000. People say, can you still get deals? You betcha. You betcha. Now, let me sort these by status. Okay, here's another. Here's a property on Olympic in Beaumont. This one's worth 309. They were owed 252, or actually they were owed 275. They opened the bid at 252. They discounted it. Somebody got the house for 260. Okay, here's a property in Blythe, which is out in Riverside County in the Far County. This one was worth 100. They were owed 45. They opened the bid at 26,000. It sold for 36,100. So it started at 26 and there was counter bidding. Okay, so there can be competition at the trustee sale. Now, notice a lot of these we're still waiting for updates, because as things move ahead, sometimes it takes us a while to get our update information. Okay, so now I just hit my status button again. Notice these properties that go back to the lender. It's because somebody wasn't ready to pick it up. This is a $460,000 property, opened at $377. Nobody bought it. This is a $230,000 property, opened at $313. Too high, so nobody bought it. This one again, too high. This one worth $215. They opened at $173. Too high, nobody bought it. This one's worth $460. Now, that's just to go to show you, at the auction, we never know where they're going to set that opening bid price. We just don't know. So if we say, I'm willing to spend X, and we're right, then when they open that bid and our bidder says, and a penny, going on, we can get the deal. Okay, so we never know exactly where they're going to open the bid. Here's one worth $297. They opened the bid at $270. Okay, notice all the canceleds. Most of these canceleds will come back. Okay, so as you look at your property information, as you're making your guesstimations as what's going to happen, realize most of these, they do not announce the auction price until the auction begins. So our goal at the auction is to pick as many potential deals as we can. Name our price, just as if we were going to go make an offer to the homeowner and lowball it, and pick a target price, 75 cents on the dollar, 70 cents on the dollar. You know, have reasonable expectations. If you're going to want 70 cents on the dollar, give us a bunch of bids. Our bidder will be there until the auction closes. Many times we bid at a penny over the opening bid price and got it, because not everybody's there for every property. And the key is you can bid every day. So if you use our bidding service, you could take advantage of the bids at auction. If you're focused on buying notes, use this information to research these properties further and try and buy notes. If you're focused on making offers, it's all the same. Have a price point in mind, investigate the property, use our single property search option to find out more about it. As you find properties you're interested in, save them to your properties folder. This is my properties folder where I've saved properties. As you create searches, you can save your searches. These are my saved searches folder where I put searches together. Here's a search that I did for Long Beach that I love to point out to people that haven't taken advantage of the features of the site. This is my saved search for Long Beach where I just put a box around my target area. And then I can go in here and I can specify something specific like apartments. And then I can hit search polygon and pull up a report. Okay? Use the features of the site. Call us and ask questions. Ask us for special training. We'll give you all the support you need so you can find your opportunities and lock down your deals. However you want to buy them. Our goal is simple, to teach you how to get the best deal you can by using the foreclosure data. This has been Bob with County Records Research. This has been our Friday, October 7th webinar on how to use the site and research properties and evaluate them. Join us again next week. On Wednesday, we'll be teaching more basic features of the site, and on Friday, we'll be looking for more deals in another area. Thank you, and have a great weekend.